Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And it's me, Amir here. I'm back with another video. And in today's video, we're going to create an authentication screen in React Native. And in this video, we'll cover several concepts that are used in React, like component reusability with the help of props. We'll also look at how to style our React Native application with Native Win styling library. And if you want to know how to set up React Native with Native Win for styling, then check the video somewhere up on the screen. We'll also look at the state management in React. Now, if I show you the authentication screen, we have this here. This is the sign-in screen. And in the sign-in screen, we have the email field, we have the password field, and call to action button here that is for the login, or else we can continue with a social login authentication provider. And we also have the option to toggle to the sign up screen. So you just click on the sign up down here and should open the sign up screen. And you can see here we have the fields for name, email, and then password and confirm password. And that's it about this authentication screen. All right, before we start coding our authentication screen, we have to understand one thing. As a good developer or an engineer, the best practice is to always have a clear roadmap of whatever system that you're building. And to do that, you need to create some architecture in which you have to follow because it's going to give you more clarity on the system you are working on, right? So if you see here, I have the UI architecture for my authentication screen, and I'm following the bottom-up approach. So if you look here at the bottom, I have a reusable component, and that reusable component is the input field. So a typical input field will have label like email or password, and it's going to have an icon like icon for email or a log for password. It's going to have a string placeholder that's usually to prompt the user to do something like enter your email or enter your password. And then we'll have also a string value. Now this string value is going to hold the current state. And then the next we have the string of onChange text. So this is a function that will accept setter as a callback function. And the setter is going to tell React to re-render in order to reflect the new data, right? So if you go up, you see in the sign up screen, we're going to reuse almost 4 input field, and that is for name, email, password, and confirm password. Similarly, in the login screen here also, we are going to reuse 2 input field, and that is email and password, right? And if you look down here also, we have another button that's going to be reusable as well. So this button will have a string text and a variant and a function on press, right? So this button can be used as call to action button in the sign up screen, and it's going to accept another function. The sign up button will accept the sign up logic as a function. And similarly, in the login screen, it's going to accept the sign in logic as a function, right? Through this on press. So it's going to be like a callback function. And we also have another button. It's going to be reusable as well, and that's the social button. So social button can be like the Google sign in button, which will be used only in the login screen. As well, you can use other buttons like sign in with Facebook or TikTok or any other social authentication provider, right? And finally, up here we have the authentication screen, and in the authentication screen, we're going to render these two screens. That's the sign up screen and the login screen. We're going to render them conditionally, right? And that's it. That's the architecture for our authentication screen. All right, so now we can start building our authentication screen, and I'll go to the source folder, and in the source folder, I'll create folder called components for our components. And in the components folder, we need to create 2 important folders, and the first folder is going to be for the forms. And next we need another folder, and I'll call it screens. Now, in the form, we can create the input field that's going to be the reusable component. And we get the default template for this input field component. And in the screens, we'll create login screen, get the default template. And we'll also create another screen called sign up screen. We also get the default template for the same. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to import this input field into the login screen. So I'll just import input field here. And in the authentication screen, I will import the login screen. I'm doing this so that when we start coding, we can see the live changes. And you should see if you look at the emulator up here, we have the input field that is coming from the input field. So if you just modify the content of this text component, welcome to input field, and you should see the changes here, right? So this will help us to see the changes that are happening as we type our code. So now we have to go to the we're already here in the input field. We can start building our input field. And the first thing that we need to do is to create an object that will hold the types for our properties or the props. So I'll call it input field props. And this input field props will have the first prop that we need is going to be the icon. A typical input field should have an icon. Now, this icon will let TypeScript handle the type checking or the type safety. That's through the key of type of and the icon package. So I'll import it first. Import, it's going to be ion icons from Expo vector icons. And we can complete this. So it is going to be .glyph map. The next property that we have is the placeholder. Placeholder is going to be of type string. We also need value. It's going to be of type string as well. We need onChange text entry. Not it's going to be onChange text, not onChange text entry. And this is usually a function that will take text as an argument. Lastly, we have the secure text entry. This is going to be optional because it's applicable to password field only, and it will be of type Boolean. And now we have the complete object for our types. So we can destructure our props here. We destructure the prop object here. So first we have the icon, then placeholder. We also got the value on change text, and we have the secure text entry, right? So here we need to import one important component, and it's called the text input component from React Native. And we just replace this with text input. Now, before we render the text input, we need to perform a conditional rendering here for the icon. If the icon is provided, then it is shown. Otherwise, we just show the text input. So we'll have to perform that here. So the ion icon package component will have the icon name. We'll also have the icon size. So give it 22. Then we have the icon color. We'll give it gray color. And we can provide some style to this icon component by giving it a margin right. And it's going to be 6 pixel. Now we can proceed and complete our text input. So first we'll have the first prop as placeholder. We have value. We also have the onChange text. We have the secure text entry. So for this secure text entry, we need to perform the masking logic. So I'm just going to say a secure text entry. And I have to come up here. Now we need to manage the state as well for this. So I'll create an array here for the current state and a setter. So I'll just call it a hide password and then set hide password. We need to import the use state hook from React. So and here we pass secure text entry. And for type safety, we need to pass the type here as Boolean. Argument of type Boolean is not undefined, is not assigned. So we already have it here. Initially, we'll set this to false as well. And the error is gone. So we can continue. So here we are going to perform masking so that when the user is typing the password, it should be converted to asterisk or dot. So perform the logic here and hide password, right? So that's it about the input text. So let me just reload the application and see what's going on. Okay, we need to provide some styles to the parent container. So it's going to be flex of row, item center, justify center, and we are going to have border width and give color for the border width. It's going to be gray, and you should see it up here. So we also need to give it border radius. So I'm just going to give it a full radius, and this one should be border radius full, and you should see it's like this, right? So we can go to the stack in the auth layout and we try to hide the header. Set it to false. And you see it's up here. So we can just control this if you want to have a clear look. Maybe we can give it flex 1, align items at the center. Okay, I'll just justify the item at the center. And you should see I'll have our container here at the center. So our input field is not complete. We have to provide a style as well to the text input. And I'm going to give it a flex of 1, and the text will be base, and the text color is going to be gray, 700. So we also need to perform the logic to toggle the password. So for that case, we'll have the condition here, and it's going to be secure text entry, and we need attachable opacity component. Okay, we have already imported it. So in this touchable, we'll have on press, and we'll have the logic to toggle the password. So we'll call the setter. Just complement this. Now we can continue, and here we have to provide the icon. So we provide the icon name, and we are going to perform some logic here. So if the state is hide password, that is the initial state, then we need to return this icon, and the icon it is called IOF outline. That is in the ion icon package. Otherwise, we return the other one, which is going to be IOF. It's just I outline, right? That is toggling. So if the password is hidden, then it will show this I off, right? And otherwise, if it is not, then the I should be on, and you should see the password instead of asterisk or dot. Now, the next, we have the size for the icon. It's going to be 22 pixel, and we need color as well for the icon. So it will be gray. And I think by this, we have completed our input field component. We can go to the login. And in the login, if you see here, it's complaining because it's expecting props to be passed. So you'll have the first prop is going to be icon. So you pass the icon name. This is email. It's going to be mail. This is a valid name in the ion icon package. Next, we have the placeholder. So for the placeholder, I'll just say enter your email. We prompt the user to enter the email. Next, we'll have value that will hold the current state. For that reason, we need some state management here. So we'll import a use state hook from React to manage the state. So I'll create an array here that consists of the current state that's going to be email, and then set email, that is the setter for the email to be updated. And we pass here email, that's the current state, and on change text entry is going to accept the setter, that is set email. So next thing that we have is going to be the secure text. No, we don't need secure text entry for email. I think this is fine, but we can also style our login screen. So we need to provide some styling here. We'll give it a padding horizontal of 4 units and a gap of 4 units as well. So we can also repeat this. Since in the login screen, we need 2 input fields. So the first input field is going to be for mail, and the second one is going to be for password. We also have to manage the state. So here will be password. That's going to be the current state. And the next state or the setter that will update it is going to be set password. Now change this one and it's going to be okay. The changes are not reflecting. Let's just reload the application so we can see the changes. Okay, you can see the changes right here, right? If you look here, the alignment is not properly. So we just go back to the input field and provide a proper styling. So we'll make padding horizontal of 4 units. Yeah, and now it is aligned properly. Go back to the authentication screen. Here we'll say, okay, here we'll provide the icon name. It's going to be lock close. And the icon is here if you look at the emulator. So we also change or modify this content of the placeholder, and it's going to be please enter your password, right? Now, if I click on here, you can see we have the email and the password. Now we need to have another one more important prop that is going to allow us to have the toggling of the icon here, and that's going to be the secure text entry. But before that, we need to pass the current state for the password field. It's going to be password, and the setter is going to be set password to update it. And here we'll pass secure text entry, and you should see it here, right? So you can just toggle here, and we can also try it. You can type, and you should see all this is converted into dots, right? So if you want to view, you can just toggle it, and you will see this, right? So that's it. Now, if we open Excalibur again, we need to see the next thing that we need in our login screen. And in the login screen here, we need a link for forget password. So we need to do that here. I'll just import a touchable opacity. We need to import it from React Native. So I'll just import touchable opacity. And here we'll have the onPress prop that will accept a callback function. Why is it complaining here? Okay. Okay, as of now, we just have to log message to the console. We don't need any function to pass here. We log this message to console, and we will say forgot password, rest, right? In here, we'll have our text, and it's going to be forgot password. And you should see the text right here, right? So now we can style our text. Text is going to be base. Font is going to be semi-bold. And the text color is going to be primary. And you should see the text is primary. And if you're asking where this primary color is coming from, if I just open my Tailwind config, I have defined all the colors for my project here. I have the primary color, the secondary color, and the various colors for the gray. So I'll head back to the authentication screen. Now we need to align this to the right. So I'll just say text should be on the right side. And you can see here, right? So now we need to confirm again from the login screen. We need one more thing. That's going to be the action button. That is login button here. So we need to create a button component. So inside the components, we create another folder and we'll call it buttons. And we'll create a button here called primary button. That's going to be used for call to action. Get the default template. And we need to make sure that this button is reusable. So we create object types here, and I'll call it primary button props. And in this object, we'll have the type for our props. The first prop that we'll have for the button is going to be title, and title is going to be of a string. And we need on press. It's going to be a function. We can destructure our primary button props object here. So we'll have our title, and we'll have on press. I'll replace this view. I don't want to use view, so I'll replace it with touchable opacity. And we'll have touchable opacity component here. So here we'll have the on press that will accept a callback function. And inside here, we'll have a text component that's going to accept the title prop. Now we can style our button. So to see the live changes, we also have to import the primary button to our screen. So I'll just import it here. So it's waiting for the prop to be passed. So the first prop that we have the title prop, and it's going to be login. Next, we have the on press. And here, the on press, we just log message to the console since we don't have the login logic yet. So just log some message here, and I will say login button pressed, right? And if you click on it and you look at the console down here on the terminal, we have login button pressed. So we can go back to our primary button and we try to give it styles. So we'll give it width full. Padding vertical is going to be 4. We give it a background color of primary. And you should see it here. So we can continue with our styles. We can give it a border radius to be full. And you should see it like this. So we can also style our text component. We'll say text is base. Then we can come back here, the items, align the items at the center, as well justify items at the center. And you should see it here, right? So we can give it a font to be a semi-bold. In the text color, we just give it white. And you should see our button perfectly, right? So now we have the complete primary button, which is reusable. We are not going to use the style sheet object, so we just delete this and we can come back here, right? Now we open Excalibur and look at the next. The next thing that we have after the login button is going to be the divider. So we need to design the divider. So I'll create a view here, and inside this view, we'll have another view. And this view, I'll use it to draw the lines. So we have to style our container, and we'll give it a flex of row so that the items are aligned in rows and justify center. Now here we can also draw our lines. We give it flex of 1, and we give it a height of 1 pixel. And we'll give it a color. Background color is going to be gray. Let's say 300. And I'll copy the same and paste it here. And if you look here, we have our line showing. So in between the two lines, we also need the text component. And we are going to say continue with, right? And you should see it here, right? Just say or continue with. Now we can style our text component as well. So text is going to be base. The text color is going to be gray. And we'll give it margin horizontal to be 4. And you should see it like this. So here we also have to say items align the items at center. Yeah. So now we have our divider and it's perfect. And if we go back to Excalibur again, we need the last one that's going to be the social button. And that social button is Google sign in. So we need to create one more button here and I'll call it social button. We can get the default template for the social button and we can make it to be reusable as well. Social button props object that will contain all the properties types. So first we need the title and it's going to be of type string. We also have the image for the icon of that specific social authentication provider. So for the image, we are going to use TypeScript. For the image, we are going to let TypeScript handle that. So through the image source prop type, and it's imported from React Native. And the next thing that we need is the onPress. It's going to be a function. Now we can also destructure our social button props object here. First, we'll have a title. We'll have image. We'll also have the onPress. So we can come here. I'm not going to use the view. I'm going to use the touchable opacity. So I'll just get the touchable opacity component here. And we'll have the onPress. So we can also style it. But before that, we need two things. We first need the image. So we can import image component from React Native. Import image. Now we can provide source for the image. And it's going to be image. Now we can style our image as well. But before doing that, we need to import this as well in the login screen so we can see the changes that are happening. So I'll just come down here and I'll import the social button. And it is complaining because we did not pass the prop still. So we just go back here and we need to style our image. So just give it width of 6 unit and height of 6 unit. But before that, we also need to style the primary container. So I'll just give it class name. Width is going to be full. Padding horizontal is going to be 4 units. Padding vertical is going to be 4 units as well. So we'll also have a border and the border color is going to be gray and that's 100. And you should see it here. So we also going to give it a rounded. I'll just make it full and you should see it here, right? So now we can continue the resize mode, provide resize mode for the image and it's going to be contain. Resize mode, not method. So it will be resize mode and contain, right? Next, we also have the text. For the text, we'll say sign in with, and then we pass the title here for that button. Now, for the image, we are going to handle image. We just have to create a file within the data, and I'll call it social images. And we'll try to export an object here. Now, inside this object, we'll have the image for Google. We just get the path for the image. So it is within assets. And in the asset, we have the images. And then we have the Google icon. I think the name is Google icon. So let's just confirm it from here. We open our asset folder. We go to images, and then we have it here, right? It's Google icon. So just close this and say here Google icon .png. Now we can go back to our login screen, and now we can pass our props. And the first prop is title. So it's going to be Google. And you should see Google here, right? We also need to go back to the social button and style our text component. So text is going to be base, and the font has to be semi-bold. And you should see the text here is semi-bold. Now we can go back to login screen and we'll pass the next prop. The next prop is going to be image. So for image, we need to import the image data. So I'll import social image from source data, and we need to destructure it here. So we'll have Google. We need to destructure Google image from social images. And we come back to the social button, and here we'll just pass our Google image. And you should see Google image is here. So we go back to the social button and align it properly. We'll just give it a flex of row, and you should see it's aligned properly. We can say justify center. Now in the text, we can just give it a margin horizontal of 2 to leave small space. Okay, perfect. So now we need to go to the login screen, and in the login screen here we have this social button component is complaining because there is one more prop that's missing. That's going to be on press. And here we'll also log a message to the console since we don't have the logic for our Google sign-in. So I'll just type here Google button, press, right? And now we have completed our login screen. So we can just go ahead and complete the sign up screen. And to do that, we are just going to copy the entire login screen and we'll have to modify it. So I'll go to sign up screen. I'll paste this here. And now we can modify this. We'll start from here. I don't need the style sheet object. And here I'll just say sign up screen, and just copy this and replace this login screen as well with sign up screen. And we don't need the social button. Just remove the social button. We also don't need this Google image. We don't need this forgot password link. As well, the divider, we don't need it. So I'll just go back to authentication screen, and here I'll just say sign up so we can see the changes. Sign up screen. I'll try to reload the application so the changes can be seen. And I don't need this social button as well. So I'll just remove it. So if you look here, we have this email, password, and the login. So we also need to change this title to sign up. And you see the importance of props to reuse components with no difficulty. So I'll just put here or sign up button pressed. Now we need to add two more field for name as well confirm password. And for that, I'll create here a new array that will have name as the current state and set name as the setter. Similarly, we'll have for confirm password. So now we can copy this and we paste this up here and we change this to person so that we get the icon. And you should see the icon for person is here. And we'll say enter your name. The current state will hold name. And the next setter is going to be set name. Now we need to copy this and paste it here. This one will be for the confirm password, and we change the string placeholder to confirm your password. And here we'll have the current state as confirm password, and we have the setter that will update. Now we have the sign up screen complete as well. So we can add here a text up here. So we just create a text component. And inside this text component, since it's sign up screen, so we'll say create an account. And then we can style the text. So we'll give it a 16 pixel. Text align will be center. And the text color is going to be gray. So it's not reflecting the changes. Let's just reload the application. And you should see it's here. So we can also make the font to be bold. Now we can copy this and go back to the login screen. In the login screen, we also have to paste it here and change the text component context. So here it's going to be sign into your account. So now we can build the parent screen, and that's going to be the auth screen. So I'll just create a view here. It's going to be the parent, and I'll give it flex of 1 to take the entire screen. And what I'm going to do, I'll have a gradient color somewhere here, and it's going to be the header. So to achieve that gradient, we need to install another important package called Expo linear gradient. We have to install this package, and then we have to import it. So I'll just come up here and import linear gradient component from Expo linear gradient. Now here we'll have our component that's going to be linear gradient component. And this linear gradient component is going to have two props. And the first prop is going to be colors. That will be an object of array. And we need to provide colors. So I'll just open my Tailwind config and I'll copy these colors. I'll copy the primary color and paste it here. Then I'll go back, copy the second. That's the secondary color. And I'll paste it here. Now we have one more prop and it's called locations. This is for distribution of the colors. So I'll just give the first one to be 0.3 and then 0.9. And I reload the application so that we can see the changes. Now we have to style it also. So the position is going to be absolute. And top has to be 0, as well left and right. And then we need to provide the height. So it should take 50%. And just dismiss this, reload the app. And you should see 50% is gradient color and the other one is going to be 50% white. So what we'll do next, inside here, we need to have a loti. So we'll create one more container for our loti. And this container, it's going to take a flex of 4, take 40% of the screen. And here we can import our loti. So we need the loti component inside this container. And we have to import loti. I'll have import loti from loti React Native. And then we can come back here. We need to provide the source for the loti. So it's within the assets folder, animations, and I'll pick the second one. That's going to be Expo logic event. And I'll come here. We need to style the loti as well. So it's going to take inline styling. So I'll give it a width that should take 90% of the container and a height that's also going to be 90% of the container. And before that, we need to make sure it's loop, autoplay as well loop. So now we have it here, but we also need to align this item to the center. So I'm going to say items, center, as well justify center. And I'll also give it the resize mode. For the resize mode, it has to be contained. Right? So if I come back here, we'll have another container, and this container is going to take 60%, and you should see. Right? So what we are going to do next, this container will also give it a background color that's going to be white. I'll just remove this justify content, and what we can do here, we give it padding horizontal of 4 units, and rounded top is going to be 50 pixel. And you should see the effect. Now, if you look here, it's too close, so we just go back to the sign up screen. And inside this container, we'll give it a margin top of 8 units. So it is pushed down. Now it's perfect. We'll have to do the same for the login screen. So I'll just go to the login screen, and here I'll give it margin top of 8 units. Okay, that's fine. So now we can proceed. And in this container, we'll have two different components. The first component is the keyboard avoiding view. And I'll have to import it from React Native. This is to control the behavior of our keyboard across different devices, like for how it should behave in iOS as well in Android. So I'll say keyboard avoiding view. And this keyboard avoiding view will need to pass two different props. And the first prop is going to be the behavior. So for Android, we have to do nothing, but if it's iOS, we have to give it padding at the bottom so it can raise the form up once we open the keyboard. And the next is going to be the keyboard vertical offset. So here we'll import platform. We'll check if the platform is iOS. Then we give it 100. Otherwise, if it is Android, we do nothing, right? So this is to control how the thing is going to work, especially with headers. So I'm getting an error here. And what's the error saying? Platform.os. So if, okay, I just did mistake here. It is supposed to be question mark here. Now it should be fine. Now we also need another component inside. We need to make our input field scrollable. So it's going to be scroll view. We need this scroll view component, and we need to import it as well from React Native. I'll just import scroll view, and I'll come back here. So this scroll view also is going to take two different props. First, we'll have the content container style, and we'll give it a flex grow. Next, we have the show vertical scroll indicator, and we'll disable it by setting it to false. Now we can have our form inside this scrollable view. So I'll just come here and I'll copy this sign up screen and just paste it here. So I'll reload the application so that we make sure that we see the changes that happens. Now we need to manage the state and render these two forms conditionally or the two screens conditionally. So I'll just come here. First, I need the use state hook to manage the state. Use state from React, and we'll create this array where we'll have active tab for the current state, and then we need to provide a setter that's going to be set active tab. And here we'll just pass login. Now what I will do here, I'll just create a variable called is logged in and perform the operation. Assign it this operation that if active tab is strict equals to login. Now we have to perform conditional rendering of the forms here. So I'll just say if the active tab is equals to login, then we have to return logged in, login screen. So here is going to be login. Otherwise, we have to return the sign up screen. So I'll reload the application. It's refreshing. Just reload the app so that we can see the change that's going to take place here. Now you see here we have the sign in screen. And what we have to do next is going to be the logic to toggle between the sign up and the login screen. So we'll have a text component here. And inside this text component, we are going to say if it's logged in, then we can return this text. I don't have an account. Otherwise, we can just return already have an account. So one important thing that we have to do, we have to create a container here, and then it should be inside that container. So I'll just copy this and paste it inside our container. Then we can style the container. So I'll give it flex row because we'll have other components as well. So I just missed T here. Now the next component that we are going to have, we'll have another text, and this text is going to be attachable opacity, which is basically a link for the toggling. To import touchable opacity from React Native, so I'll just come here and import touchable opacity. So now we can come back to the touchable opacity and we'll perform the toggling logic. So it's going to be inside this onTrace, we have to render it conditionally. So I'm going to say set active tab. And inside here, we'll check if it's logged in, and that's going to be if active tab is equal to login, then we have to return on sign up. Otherwise, we can return logged in. Otherwise, we can return login, right? So let me just pull this a bit and reload the application. Now inside here, we also have a text, and this text also we have to render the text conditionally. So what I'm going to say, we'll check if it's logged in, then we need to return this text that is sign up. Otherwise, we can return login. Right? So we can style our text as well. So I'll just style the text, and the text color has to be primary. And you should see the text is now primary color. So I'll just make it semi-bold. Now, in the main container, we also have to justify the item to the center, and you should see it's at the center. And we need to space this text a bit from the Google icon. So I'll just come up here in the container and I'll give it padding top of 2. And you should see a space here. So that's it. And if you click on the sign up, it should take you to the sign up screen. As well, if you click on login here, it should toggle and take you to the login screen. And that's it. And you can type your email.